good.
It's actually been a while since I podcasted anything. Me and Luke took a bit of a hiatus on our podcast. We're going to start up again soon, but job stuff.
Yeah,
But
I get that. Just, you know the rules.
no blasphemy.
Cool. We'll crack on then, if that's good for you.
Oh, fine by me. Absolutely.
Magic. So yeah, welcome back then. Welcome to the Yellingatconcrete podcast again.
It's been a while. I was trying to work out how long it was. It's over a year.
Yeah, because it was like I think you were literally like the third or second or third person I had.
Yeah.
Come do.
There are a few technical issues, I think, with the video.
Yeah, the video didn't record last time we were doing that, so double check that that's recording. Yeah. Yeah, the video didn't record, and then we had the audio, so that worked. But yeah, you
Potentially 2 years ago.
It can't be 2 years, can it?
I honestly don't remember.
I don't know. This is like episode 50 or 60, 68 or something. Or maybe something stupid like that.
Weekly?
Yeah. It's been
So maybe
over a
under
year.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
Just over a
That
year.
makes me feel better
And I
about
take a
life in general.
hiatus. There's always a hiatus in December.
Yeah.
And I think I can only remember one Christmas since then.
Is that
I
because
started
of
in, like,
alcohol?
summer.
Or
No, just in general.
just
I don't drink at Christmas.
why not? That's the rule.
Yeah, but I usually end up driving everywhere.
Fair.
My Christmas is like now my Christmas because I don't drive. It's like, oh, you get in the car and go pick up your brother because he doesn't drive and lives in Nottingham. And
Yeah.
my parents are in Scunthorpe, so it's
Wow.
like go there and then it's like cool, visit Grand as
Like
well.
the triangle of
And just drive around. So it's like unless I'm sleeping over, I don't really drink over Christmas.
Yeah.
Until I get home. And then New Year's was a wreck last year. It's like
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I've got my son's going to be 4 very, very soon.
Yeah.
So that kind of wipes out a lot of my excuse for drinking because you cannot parent a hangover. In my experience.
I mean, I
it's
wouldn't want to pair it
difficult.
with hangover. It's hard enough
It's
dealing with
atrocious.
regular people, yet dealing
Yeah.
with like a toddler.
Kids don't give a crap.
No.
They'll climb and they'll demand. They don't care that you're suffering. It's not their fault, to be fair. So I don't blame them. But no, I can't handle that.
Unless you get your kids drunk and then they can
There
have
is
a
that.
hangover with you.
There is that.
And that'd be work wonderfully.
Yeah, I don't condone that. Cold medicine works well.
Comments.
Calpol.
How do you incapacitate your children? You know?
Generally, that will just get them running outside for a long time. Take them to a park and then they tire themselves out.
I mean, how old are you now?
27.
27. I mean, I'm almost 30 now. 29 this year.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're a December baby, right?
November.
Oh, so close.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only 2 months left, so that was fair guesswork.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm 29 this year, and then I'm 30 next year. But like 30 never bothers me. Like a lot of people see it as like a barrier of like they got to do something before they're 30.
Yeah.
Whereas I look at 30 and I'm like, because I'm so focused on art stuff. I'm like most artists don't make it until they're like 50.
You got years ahead.
So I always look at it as like, if I get to 40 and I'm still exactly the same as I am now, then I need
That's
to
a
worry.
worry.
But if I've progressed a bit by the time I'm 40, I'm like, yeah, all right, that's fine. I've still got another 10 years.
It's just progression. I think we actually said that last time, was like, it's all about progression. So as long as you know you're moving forward, your next marks, it's completely up to you what you want to go for.
What did we talk about? Last time we spoke, mainly writing, didn't we?
Yeah, I think
Writing.
just kind of
I mean, what have you been doing now? It's been a year.
lots.
You've been on like Amazon's bestseller list.
Yeah.
That's madness.
Yeah. Literally, the series is The Age of Madness. So, yeah, it's been a busy year. So I, on a personal note, I put my goal for this year at the beginning of the year resolution was just to get out of debt, because I've never been in a position to be in loads, but been at a point where, because of having a child fairly young and kind of working my way up in my job as well, it's been quite breadline. So it's been a case of trying to just get out of that. And I got very, very lucky last year and actually brought a guy onto my podcast who's an American author called Michael Anderley, who is doing this whole collaboration thing with what he calls the Catherian Gambit universe. Mm-hmm. And it's essentially, it mainstreams with a 21 book series about a vampire. And her sort of journey to domination. It's a very like kick-ass Pulp Fiction type series.
Yeah.
But there's an absolute huge following for it, and he came to the podcast and I spoke to him because he started branching out, bringing other authors into it and doing different spin-offs, and they were doing massively well. And then I just popped a question on the off chance afterwards. Literally, we closed the chat on Skype, and then a couple of hours after I just put a message and went, by the way, I'm just going to put this out there. If you don't ask, you don't get. If you're interested in collaborating anything horror, let me know, because that's kind of my bag.
Yeah.
And because I've collaborated on other stuff as well with Hawk and Cleaver and the books I've been doing.
Yep.
He at the time said, not right now, but in a couple of months potentially, and I thought nothing of it. And then lo and behold, September last year, he calls me up from his like 27th floor flat in Vegas to say that there's a space and he wants me in, and kind of just started me writing on this book series. So that's been going ahead.
It's badass.
Yeah, he kind of works on a quick release model as well. So it's a case of over that time I've written the 3 novels that were released through August and September.
Yeah.
And because they've got his name attached to them, because there's a big fan base as well, and I like to think some of it's because the writing's okay. Like the primary how it works is I'll write the books, he'll kind of read through, check he's happy for his audience, and then they just ship. But yeah, they've 2 out of the 3 went to sort of bestseller, and they've all hit like the top 500 of Amazon. So
yeah,
that's
crazy
madness. But
it's great to see though. Like I like to see, like, because I've had a couple of friends who've like done things and I've been doing things for ages, and then all of a sudden they've just had one thing which has just gone and like, it's just gone quite big, or that kind of thing. And it's always nice to see. It's like that payoff.
It's been a strange journey, because I think personally, as the artist I want to be, I want to write a lot of the darker stuff, and like I say, this is quite pulp. But in order to, I'm kind of like playing the long game in terms of like upping my name a bit. Obviously I'm enjoying the books as well, and I think that what I'm putting out there is good, and he seems to be enjoying it as well, which is good. But I think longer term I want to write sort of some of the darker, more more actual horror-y stuff.
That's where you start, like, because that's like other stories and everything for Hawk and Cleaver.
Exactly.
Still all ongoing, I'm assuming. Still
2 million downloads this year.
That's another thing. Like, kind of every so often I get the update of that, and I'm just like, oh damn, you're getting so many freaking downloads.
It's absolutely insane. We're actually launching our first proper Halloween week as well. I don't know, because you're in the chats. I don't know if you see much of it anymore.
I've been. I'm going to be honest. I broke my computer.
Oh, okay.
In fact, you know about me breaking my computer, because that's when I stopped doing illustrations for you guys. I broke my computer, and then after that I've not put the program back on my computer, so I haven't been in any chats.
There'll be a lot of things, and because it's on the free version of Slack, it'll be like some of them delete after a while anyway. But we're doing our first official Halloween week, because last year I'd say we got lucky. I mean, we've been in the top 10 of the literature and arts charts pretty much since that podcast has been running, which has been amazing. And we got lucky last year that it kind of got picked up by a couple of like blogs and boosted up around Halloween, and because obviously at Halloween everyone looks for scary stories anyway. We got pushed up a bit further in the main charts, but this year we're actually making an active push to drive that more. So over the week of Halloween, the first 6 days, we're just curating some of our older darker episodes into a release a day, with sort of Carl's doing a couple of revamped effects and bits and pieces to it, and then on actual Halloween, again through my other non-fiction podcast that we ran, I met a horror author there, and we've managed to get him to write the exclusive, it's not exclusive, bring an episode to Halloween itself. So do you know much about the Bram Stoker Award, or like it's about? I
know bits about it, but we'll discuss it. Tell me about it.
It's like the accolade for horror authors. So if you're a horror author, it's like you won a Bram Stoker Award. And he won one of those in 2011, and we'll be bringing a story to.
That's cool.
So there's lots going on.
There's always lots going
on. And it's just like you get to a point, and I think it's kind of a suffrage you almost get as you're constantly rolling forward. You almost forget the steps that you've taken and what, like you just get used to seeing it where you are. So sometimes it's important to take that step back and appreciate.
I got thinking about this the other day. It was actually what I think I'm going to discuss in my next like solo podcast, because There's that annoying line which people use where they're like, don't compare yourself to anyone else. And I'm like, if you never compare yourself, how do you know how well you're doing? And whilst I'm sat there going, yeah, on some level you shouldn't, go, oh, well, they're doing so well, I must be doing shit.
Yeah.
There is that step of like going, oh, well, I should have a benchmark of where I want to be, so then I've at least got something to aim for.
Yeah.
And it's that.
Do you set goals?
You what?
Do you set goals?
See, this is the problem. I have running goals.
Yeah.
The running joke is that I do lots of projects and I never finish projects.
Yeah.
Because I'd never see anything that's finished. So like Potato Boy, which at the minute I'm promoting.
I'm loving that,
right?
by the way.
Potato Boy's been going since Null Point's been going. And I basically just do that all the time.
Yeah.
The goal for it is like a book, but that's not the goal.
You don't know what the goal is.
There's no end point to
it.
Yeah.
And
the same with like Null Point. I have literally no end point for it. And most of my projects I don't have a point where I'd be like, yeah, that's where I could finish. Like,
but is that a problem for you?
That's not a problem for me.
Yeah.
It's a problem for other people. Because
that's the part where you go, fuck them.
Yeah. that is the kind of the thing, because I'm always like, oh, I'm taking on this project, or I've started something new, and they're like, but you haven't finished the other project. It's like, well, that doesn't matter. None of that matters.
No,
I'm just doing something else.
Yeah.
Alongside everything else. It's more like a stack.
It's what you want from it. Because even with with the books I'm currently writing, like I'm trying to work on book 4 of this series. At the minute, I'm being good. You're being good. I'm sticking to. I've got ideas, and I've got.
Because last time we talked, you were trying to bog yourself down.
Yeah. So, I kind of have to be a bit more strict now because I've kind of stepped up at work as well,
right.
And obviously, the older a kid gets, the more demanding they get. So I'm trying to just juggle things, but at the minute, I'm focusing purely on this series with this guy, with the end point of either being 8 or 12 books.
Right.
So once they're wrapped up, I'll be kind of happy. But I've already sourced book covers for other ideas that I've already got in my head that are ready to go, and other bits and pieces. I'm just trying to be disciplined. But I think one thing that I've kind of learned in the last year was writing these books. So writing, for example, book 3 probably took about a month to write. I took days off work and I kind of just went in with the process, and just because I'd written book 1 and 2, I was going with the flow. I knew where it was going. Book 1 was really difficult to get into, and I know that it's because at its core, it's not the book I would write. Yeah, I'm being sensible.
Yes.
Which kind of feeds in a little bit to kind of what you're saying. It's about what you want. So I know that after I've wrapped up this series, I know that I want to take more time with the projects I'm working on. And I think end goal wise, I've been trying to work out if I wanted to take it to full time. Right, if the opportunity presented itself, if the series did that well, that I'd be able to support myself, would I go full time? And I don't know if I would. I'm trying to battle with that at the minute. Yeah. Because I've ran my own business for 2 years, and I sat at home editing for 2 years. Yeah. And that's quite lonely to do. Whereas the job I'm in at the minute is sort of marketing, and it's around lots of people, and I like being around people, so I don't know what that balance would be. But again, working on book 4 at the minute has been slower progress because I wore myself out with those 3. Yeah. And now it's trying to get the engine started again to carry on with book 4. And it's, again, just remembering what the fuel is for going forward.
Do you find, because this is a thing which I find with a lot of artists, or at least I do, I think I had Liz on podcast and we discussed basically the need for success in art or anything creative is you got to be partially organised and partially creative. You can't be completely one or the other, otherwise you'll fail. You can be organised as hell, but you'll never make anything. Yeah. And you can be creative as hell, but you'll die. And we were both kind of sat there going, yeah, I don't know. I love the idea of doing art full time and not having any other job, but I honestly don't know if I'd live. Because I would just throw myself into it, with projects and stuff. It would be literally wake up every day. I can do anything I want. Yeah. And it will make money. Therefore, I will do anything I want.
It's a very different experience as well, knowing that your food, your heating, your housing, everything depends on it. I mean,
do you find that when you when you write though, do you just get lost in it?
Oh yeah.
In the ideas of it.
Oh yeah. If I think that's kind of the moment, because I know there's a lot about resistance, and I know if any artists do struggle with like just getting stuff done, I highly recommend. Have you read Stephen Pressfield's The War of Art?
It's literally on my Amazon wishlist.
Read it.
And
It's
I've
not
never
too
got around
big a
to
read
ordering
either. Yeah. I'll buy it for you. It's obviously fantastic, and I've read it twice this year. Once just after Christmas, and once around June.
Yeah.
And it's literally just a book about kind of artists and how they find excuses, and like the myth of writer's block, whether you apply that to painting or writing or whatever. With kind of, it's very short chapters, but it sort of comes up with reasons like, if you're working your day job and there's a task that you get given that you don't want to do you ever sit there and go, sorry, I've got work block? You don't, because you have other people putting that pressure on you.
Yeah.
Resistance is just a battle with your own self-discipline. So it's like, in those moments where you've got 3 hours free and you're sat watching Netflix thinking, I could probably do my project. It's that kind of, it helps you overcome that hurdle. And it gets a little bit bogged down in Christianity in the last sort of quarter of it.
Okay. That's unexpected.
Yeah, I know. It talks a bit more about like supporting angels and the muse and whatnot. But the putting that aside, the rest of the messaging's like fantastic. But yeah, I've already forgotten what the question was.
I mean, that was kind of the point in a way, getting lost in the creative idea.
That was it. Yeah, so Jesus Christ, literally like a perfect example.
It's like, do you do that then? No, I don't.
But yeah, I think for me, I know that if I have times where I'm like, I don't know if I've got the energy to write whatever, I'll sit there and just be like, just write 500 words, because I know I can write 500 words in like 5-10 minutes if I like.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit longer, 10-15 minutes. And before you know it, you've written sort of 1,000, 1,500 words, and the time's just flown, and you've kind of been like, crap, where's that gone? Which I have mixed feelings about that, because I love the catharsis of just being in that moment and just going, okay, stuff is happening. Mm-hmm. But I hate, it's almost like when you wake up from a really bad night of drinking and you're suddenly like, that time is just gone. Something happened, and now you're in, it's like you've time travelled.
I do get that. Like, see, I have a thing of where I'm a kind of a glutton for punishment, as we discussed earlier when we were on about me going cold turkey from coffee.
Obviously not now.
No, obviously not now. We're past those moments. It's your turn. Where I don't feel like I achieved if I didn't suffer.
Mm.
So if I'm able to do something and it's easy, and it has been easy, then I get to the end of it, I'm like, oh, I didn't do anything. And that's my problem at the minute. Like, I get a day off, I spend the entire day drawing. Like, I'm working on my calendar at the minute. I'll spend it drawing, writing, planning, all this kind of stuff. I get to the end of the day, I'm like, I didn't do anything today.
Yeah.
I did. I spent all day working on projects. But because it was easy and I was relaxed and I was just doing what I'm doing, I'm like, that was pointless.
I feel like pain is a form of progression.
Yeah. Which is for someone is not a great mentality to have.
Yeah. But it kind of makes sense. I mean, years back I used to teach parkour and free running, and I became a coach, and the reason I became a coach was because the guy who coached in Lincoln left, and like I was kind of already doing stuff for him anyway, but I kind of overtook him in Lincoln and led that. And a lot of people were like, oh, it must be really cool being a parkour coach, and that was just handed to me.
Yeah.
And then when I started editing and proofreading, my first clients were my ex's mum's clients, because she's a self-employed proofreader,
right,
and copy editor, and she gave me my first lot of like contact into clients. And even then I was like, I'm doing this work, and I'm like, but I was given it.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I've kind of tried to do then is like, no, I want to do this, and I think that's part of why I went into more of the writing stuff, because I'm like, a lot more of this depends on solely me and my work. So I know that, bar the collaborations with Michael, which obviously is a bit of a step, and like, I can't thank him enough for it. It's like a fantastic opportunity, but even that's a bit of a, here you go.
It's a very hard thing, I find, for creatives to accept is help.
Yeah.
We hate it.
Yeah.
Like, we hate that idea. It's like, you see it so often in kind of like, it's like a trope in things where people are like, oh, we're doing this project together, and then there's this massive opportunity which is coming along, and they're like, oh, but do I take that opportunity?
Yeah.
You're like, why wouldn't you take that opportunity?
Yeah.
Like, from the outside perspective, you're like, you've worked all your life, and now someone's offering to help you and guide you and boost you, and you're going to say no?
Yeah, I struggled a long time with that decision, like months. And literally, there's a podcast. It's my non-fiction podcast, Story Studio, Actually, the author who we've got doing the Halloween episode, when we interviewed him, he's got a really smooth Irish voice, and he's been in the business for a while. And he basically gave me therapy in that episode, because we kind of got somehow into the conversation of me and the whole, do I focus on my stuff, or do I take this for a little while and then come back round to it? And it was genuinely a really hard decision to make, because, like you say, you want to just do your thing, but then obviously with stuff like this, it's like, this makes sense, and this would be a stupid thing to pass up.
An angry cafetiere.
Yeah, it would be a stupid opportunity to pass up, and I'm so glad that I didn't.
Yeah.
But there was that moment at one point where I was just like, I'm just not going to do it, because I want it to be me. I want it to come from me. And it's like, you just have to be a bit humble, I think, sometimes. I've
discussed this like multiple times on podcasts. I have that fighting feeling with myself where I feel like I'm selling out. Like, even with my own projects, like the calendar. So I'm like, right, I'm going to illustrate a calendar. That seems like selling out. I'm making a product. And I want people to buy this product.
But you've always been a lot more of like the raw, starving artist.
But I feel like that's a problem. For success down the line and kind of getting recognition, like that's a barrier to overcome. So it's like the calendar. So I feel like
recognised like
I had
80
to go
years after you die.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that.
That's the goal.
Maybe I could die young and get recognised early.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Yeah.
I mean, I made it past 27, and that was a big hurdle.
Yeah,
apparently. Well, I didn't know about
27. I'm worried now.
Well, there's that myth, isn't there? It's the 27 myth, where all artists die at 27. Well, good artists.
Shit, I've got like 5 months.
Well, this was the thing. Like, I didn't know about it. And then I think I was 26, and I must have been chatting to a friend, and they were like, "Oh, birthday soon." And I was like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Oh, you're 27." And I'm like, "Yeah." And you're like, "You'll die next year." And I was like, "What?"
Wow.
What? And it's because
happy birthday.
It's like because like Amy Winehouse died at 27, and Kurt Cobain died at 27. Like, there's this whole like stack of like important artists who all died at 27 or took their own lives at 27. So it was like that thing of, do you feel better coming past 27? Because you're like, well, clearly I'm not a real artist because I didn't commit suicide when I was 27.
But then a lot of artists become artists at 50.
It's like you look at them,
That's
go,
a
well,
weird middle ground.
Yeah, it's like you either make it at 27 or you wait till you're 50.
Yeah,
I'm a patient person.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, I think it depends who you're measuring yourself against. Again,
ooh, I know what I wanted to get your opinion on. Have you seen the recent Banksy thing?
Which one?
Where he shredded his artwork. You know whose?
No.
Okay, so recently there was a Sotheby's auction where they were auctioning off a piece of Banksy work.
Okay.
Framed portrait. Well, not portrait. It was like a little girl in balloon. Hope.
Oh, yeah,
I believe it's the piece. And as soon as the auction ended and the gavel had gone down, it automatically shredded itself. Like, an alarm went off, and in the frame, it just started to drop through the frame.
That's amazing.
Shredded itself.
Dude is a
like
genius.
Got halfway through the shredding itself. And obviously the art world was like in furore about this. And I was like, so I was sat there. First off, I was pissed off. Because I was like, he's stolen my idea. Because
self-destructing art.
Well, like I've been working on a project, or just on the side, like called Bonfire, where I essentially burn my own artwork. So I spent months working on a piece of artwork,
with
and then I burn
different
it.
artists.
And I was just like, that's like, if I was like, that's there, and I was like, fucking Banksy's done it. And then so there's this whole thing of like people have gone, oh well, it's worth more now. Because it's now like it had its original meaning, and now it's got this extra concept which is just like dropped on top of it. Like, oh yeah, and by the way,
people automatically start bidding again.
Yeah, and it's like, so the guy who won it has won it in its condition, and it's worth more than he paid for it because it's now another piece of artwork. And I was just like, so but then there's another thing which is on top of that. So some genius online thinks it didn't shred itself on the day. So essentially Banksy released a video, which was after this had all happened, of him showing him putting like the razor blades in the frame and how he'd set it up and been like, I put this in the frame, this was all intended to happen on the day, blah 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 blah, and then sending off. And someone was like, nah, mate, that didn't happen. Essentially he thinks it's a magician's trick where the picture is pre-shredded but you can't tell whilst it's in the frame, and then all it did was roll through. So it looks like it's been shredded, but it hasn't actually been shredded. So he didn't actually destroy his own artwork because it was pre-cut. So it was the original artwork was already destroyed or damaged, and it just rolled out the frame. And I'm like, that's another layer on top of that. Because then essentially, if that's the truth, then he played a prank on the art world, as well as just
that feels
selling
more
damage.
Banksy.
Yeah, that feels more Banksy to me.
Yeah.
Like, than just destroying it.
But
then at the same time, like, then that's kind of cowardly. If you're not willing just to let it fuck up.
Yeah. I've never understood paying lots and lots of money for that kind of stuff.
No, I don't get it.
I don't get perceived value of things over.
In a way, that's why I kind of like the idea of destroying my own work.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd be comfortable with someone paying a lot for my work. I'd happily have my work in a museum and have people go appreciate it. But the idea of someone going, oh yeah, I'll pay you millions for one painting, and I'd be like, what?
I'd love to live in your mind.
Here, have my painting. I'll take your millions, and I'll just remake that painting, and then just give it away because fuck it, there can be two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mind's a mess. I shouldn't have money.
I don't think you ever will.
I'm incredibly good with money, though.
Yeah.
Like shockingly good with money.
Fair.
But yeah, in terms of my own work and appreciation for art and stuff like that, it's a clusterfuck.
Yeah. No, I find it kind of like I don't know what it is that draws obviously people who don't have the skills to put that much value into certain pieces of art. I'm not saying like certain bits of art aren't creatively more rewarding or in some cases better than others, but just never.
I can understand it from a point of view of when the artist is dead. So like old paintings, like they're heavily valued, and I can understand
more
that
for a historical legacy.
Well, yeah, because it's like the person who made it is no longer alive, therefore you can't recreate that exact painting because their idea has died with them, their skills have died with them. As much as you want to recreate it, it's not your idea. It's just an imitation, essentially, from that point. Which is what I always find interesting about like the Mona Lisa, because there's like 5 copies of it, which were all by the same artist, but only one of them's in the Louvre. You're like, so what makes the other ones less good? It's because they're practice ones. It's like, right, okay, surely they should just be displayed together. That would make so much more sense.
That'd have a lot more impact as well.
Yeah. So I can understand it from that point, but yeah, like modern art and the idea of buying it for a ridiculous price, unless it's like costs them to make it, like Damien Hirst's Crystal Skull, which he did, which is like covered in diamonds.
Yeah,
like that makes sense. It's covered in diamonds.
Or the elephant's painting.
Yeah, something which is significant.
Yeah.
Like pickling a shark, that costs. There's a lot of time and effort has gone into that.
You have to reimburse them for what they put into it.
You've got to at least get paid. Hours, that kind of rule. But the idea that if you're just taking it for conceptual value. Yeah. I mean, I sold some work last week. So I had some illustrations.
Is that what that pile of ashes is on the floor?
Yeah. That's me shipping it. It's fucking work. Anyway, I had an exhibition. I was part of an exhibition which was about mental health in London.
Nice.
A friend of mine was putting on like their first curatorial thing, so I submitted some work, sold 2 pieces in that, and it's been a hard idea to kind of get through. That like someone wanted to pay money for my work, and I appreciate it like fully. And it's they were paintings, they were watercolors. I was like, so it took time, effort, resources.
Yeah.
But in my head, I'm like, I don't know, because that was the question they asked, like, how do you price your work? Like, how do you price a book?
I mean,
do you sit there and go, well, I put more time into this one, so it's worth more?
Oh, no.
Or do you have to just go, that's got to be a tenner?
Yeah, I mean, there are formulas and stuff in place now. There's there are systems, there are expectations.
That's what disturbs me about writing.
Yeah, I mean, if you actually look at the amount of hours that were put into the first book, well, even any of the books, to be honest, it doesn't reimburse itself with the income. I mean, the income's nice, but it's not worth or balances out against what a traditional job would be if you did just like an hourly rate for that amount of time. But yeah, I mean, with books, there's a formula for the length of the book, kind of like the expectation of the size, and you can play around with it a bit. And I think that's the trap that people do fall into, particularly like, and I get it because I did similarly, but when people self-publish or start doing it first time, they'll price like a 50-page book at $9.99, and realistically no one's going to pay that.
Yeah.
Like if you're going for like if you're going for like the commercial world,
Yeah.
because you can get like a Harry Potter book for $5.99, and you know that's like vetted and thousands of people
approved
have enjoyed that. Yeah. So I think the pricing structure, you really have to like earn your pedigree with the writing, which I guess I kind of like in a way, because it gives you something more to aspire to rather than just here's my book, pay a tenner.
Yeah.
It's like as you progress and you build your fan base and people are more loyal to you, you then can up your prices a bit because people want to read it more because they know it's you. So it's almost
It's like a seal of approval.
It's
like quality guarantee. You pay £2 extra per book. And you know it's going to be. It's like Stephen King's. Like, just see. Then that's the thing with Stephen King. Like, I imagine he can write his in like a day. Yeah. And then it'd still be the same price as one he took 3 months to write, which I don't think it's ever taken Stephen King 3 months to write.
Everything he touches turns to gold. I think he's just at a point now where his reputation precedes him. It doesn't matter what he writes; people will see the like. Because even if he wrote his worst novel now, people will still read it because it's Stephen fucking King.
Have you read a lot of Stephen King?
A fair bit, yeah, in the last couple of years.
What do you think the worst one he's written is that you've read? Because this is a problem I have with Stephen King, because he's got so much. Getting a grasp on what, like, his range is hard. So I'm always interested in what people think is like good and bad from Stephen King.
I mean, generally, if you go into a Stephen King book, it's more to get lost in a world. The actual story arc and kind of like how you follow, or how the majority of people follow a story, the ends always fall a bit short for me anyway. Not in all of them. So like things like Cujo I absolutely loved. Pet Sematary was fantastic. One that I actually didn't enjoy too much was part of his Dark Tower series, and it was book 4, which is Wizard and Glass. Which, have you read any of the Dark Tower series?
No. This is the thing about Dark Tower. It's like one which was suggested to me, and then I was really hyped to see the series they were making, and then people were like, "Yeah, that's crap." I was like,
"Yeah." Well, it became a film in the end, didn't it? It was literally just so it was meant to be a series,
right?
And then they kind of pulled loads of the budgets back and just went, "I will just make it a film," because the film apparently was meant to, because the Dark Tower itself, it's all crossing worlds and different realms. It was meant to be like the film's the start to like spin-offs in comics, spin-offs in magazines, spin-offs in TV shows, and like that was all meant to tie in together, which would have been cool. But yeah, they just pulled that and went, let's just compress 7 books into an hour and a half film. But no, so like the first book in that, like I love, is brilliant. The second book is it's well written, but it kind of goes against. So the first book is basically a gunslinger running across essentially what is like a western scene chasing the man in black, but there's all sort of like mutants and there's nods at like other dimensions and things.
Okay.
And then the second book is called The Drawing of the Three, and he's basically on a beach and he keeps coming to doors, and the doors open up into like different time periods in New York in which he meets the characters that then take him on to the rest of the journey, and it's all like prophesied and bound together. But that one for me just really dragged on because I just wanted to see more of like the Western scene. It got very, very heavy and the politics. At one point, it goes from being this sort of fantasy realm of what they call Midworld and him and his journey to the Dark Tower. And then there's sort of like 200, 300 pages on this guy's coke deal and his brother in 1950s New York. And you just
slides that in. Like,
it's like, get back to the good stuff. But I mean, particularly, that's his experiment book. He can take liberties. That's his bit of art. But
that's his outlet.
Yeah, I don't know if I've read anything particularly bad. I'm trying to think what I have read.
I haven't read that many. I've read Shining, Misery.
Not yet, I got to Misery.
Misery's good.
It is good. It is just very long.
It's
far too much.
I saw the film, like the new one, and what
did you think?
I liked it.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I like the original, and I thought this did well. Like it's its own thing.
Yeah.
I was like, I kind of watched it.
Bill Skarsgård.
There's no. I love him.
Yeah.
Great. It's like this is the thing. Like I watched it, and I was like, there's no comparison.
No.
Between the two. It's a very different medias.
It's a very different telling of its time.
And it's like, this is very now. This is very horror nowadays, and it's in a way it's better than horror nowadays because the horror nowadays has that trap of what The Ring started, which was like, oh, well, we're gonna hide the monster from you for like 80% of the film, and like this goes in, and it's like, boom.
Here he is.
10 seconds in, there's it. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
There's no hiding this. I know it's coming, and now I'm just going to wait for it for the entire film.
Yeah. It's very, because I've watched it a couple of times now. Yeah. It's very just horror pockets almost. It's like, here's a horror thing, here's a horror thing, here's a horror thing, and then like a narrative loosely woven between it.
Yeah.
But I think it works.
Interestingly, I went to see that on a date.
Nice.
It was a Tinder date.
Nice. Is that so they would hug you and fright?
Well, no, we couldn't decide what we wanted to do, and then we were like, oh, we'll go see a film. You know, that's a classic date trope. Go see a film.
I have feelings, but go on.
It's a bad one because it's like, cool, you're gonna go on a date, you want to get to know a person, go sit in a dark room for an hour where you don't talk about them. It's like we went to see it, and then she got really scared, but not at it. Or any of that. It was the bit with the guy who's like got no limbs, like in the library.
The leper.
Yeah, the leopard like thing.
Yeah.
And that freaked her out like for the entire film.
Really?
And I was just like, I was like trying to be kind of supportive, but for a person you don't know that well and you're on a date with, and it kind of triggered her. I was like, all right, so I don't really know what to do in this situation. So essentially, I'm just going to sit here and be like, if you're okay, I'm good, and we're just going to sit and watch this film.
Yeah. So what's your favourite ice cream flavour?
Yeah, just say, how do you feel about this?
Yeah. But no, it's it's a good film. I mean, like I say, I've never finished the book.
No.
No, it was actually.
Is it that long?
It's like 1,200 pages. But then I got the audiobook, and it was one of the first audiobooks that I tried to listen to, not realising the audiobook's 46 hours.
Damn.
So
that's a long book.
It wasn't so much the story that put me off after a while, it was the narrator's voice.
See, that's why I can't do audiobooks.
See, I'm on them now. I'm back into them.
You're back into them?
Since I discovered you can speed up playback.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because, oh my God, when you actually listen to professionally put together audiobooks, they read it so slow.
I feel like the only audiobooks I'd enjoy are ones where like it's first person narrator. So
tell you what is a good audiobook. Andy Weir's The Martian.
Yeah.
Because that's not so much first person, but it's obviously a lot more like in his head process driven around.
Yeah.
You've seen the film?
No, I haven't.
It's a lot like about him and the actual specifics of him trying to survive and like the science behind it.
Okay.
It's very science heavy, but
because like I've got a thing for films with monologues.
Mm.
Like that's a big thing for me. So like my favorite film is Fight Club.
Nice.
Like all time, one of my favorite films is Fight Club, and it's like because most of it is monologue.
Yeah.
It's like American Psycho. Most of it's monologue.
Mm.
It's like there's just something about them.
Yeah.
And they kind of draw you in as that character. And you kind of start to feel as that character.
You just feel that in the audiobook.
Yeah,
it's
and
very
I feel like I'd want that for an audio, but I couldn't just listen to someone tell me a story.
Yeah. No, I'd go for that one.
Yeah.
I think that was the one that actually got me like, I wouldn't say hooked on them, but see the value in them a lot more now.
Hooked on audiobooks.
Yeah. Because I cycle to work a lot.
Right.
And where I live, it's like 20 minutes into town, 20 minutes back. So I used to read on the bus, and I started missing out on stories. So I just now get like audiobooks and just listen to those. And
That makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
It definitely takes a bit getting used to.
Yeah.
I can get why people wouldn't listen to audiobooks, but particularly when I can get home. Because I'll have the novel. I won't audiobook unless I've already got the novel.
That's real specific.
I know. And then I'll go home and be like, oh, open it up. I've listened to this many pages, and just like flick a chunk of pages over. So, yeah.
I do think if you buy a book nowadays, you should get audiobook for free.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Like that should just be a standard.
Just be like a code
thing.
or something inside. Just
like not even just for like for ease of listening. That'd help like a lot of disabled communities. Just like buy the book, get that for free, give the book to a friend.
Yeah, that's what they're worried about.
Yeah, so buy the book twice. It's like,
but people do it anyway.
Oh, it's like, hey, I'm not going to rip the audio file and just send that to a friend.
Yeah.
Totally not going to do that. Never do that.
Yeah,
never taken a book and just photocopied it. Never done that.
Yeah. Do you listen to many podcasts? Because obviously you do this one.
No. This is the crux of the matter. This is again like I did
like the production
before I started. Before I started doing podcasts, I decided that I should probably listen to some podcasts. So I listened to Harmontown. I listened to Mark Maron's podcasts, and I was like, cool. know what I want to do, and then I just stopped.
Yeah.
And I honestly feel guilty about it. Like, it's because to me, it's like I'm asking people to spend an hour at a time, often, and sit and listen to two people talking, and yet I cannot sit and listen to a podcast unless it's like truly engaging me, or like the subject engages me or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem. I struggle to find podcasts which have such a variation that I'd want to go back and listen again and again and again, because it's like there's so many, like, there's nothing wrong with like having a themed podcast, but this is my problem with YouTube. So like YouTube at the minute, you go on it and the things you subscribe to, they do one thing. So it's like you got a recipes channel, you got like a health channel, you got like a how-to channel, and I'm like, that's cool. On YouTube, I can just go in and I get a mix of everything which is going on, and I can just pick and choose.
Yeah.
Whereas like podcasts, I'm like, I got to explore it to find out.
It's hard to actually explore them. Yeah.
And I'm like, if every single one is the same kind of subject or the same like realm, unless I'm like researching something and want to know everything about it, I just don't care. I want some variation.
Yeah.
Which is why, that's why I like Mike Marrons, because he was just interviewing guests.
Yeah.
It was like,
I think you'd like Tim Ferriss, the Tim Ferriss Show.
Yeah.
You ever heard of him?
I've heard of him, but I don't know what it's about.
He's it's hard to explain what he actually does, but he's basically an entrepreneur / just massively successful person who just his whole podcast now, he just speaks to the most successful people in the world and just interviews them about stuff. And it's not success in just like your traditional celebrity success. He'll bring in people who are actors, sports legends, then he'll bring in like just top scientists from their field, and the variety of conversations and stuff. Sometimes listening to that, you can get some really interesting stuff out of that.
See, that sounds interesting.
Well, his latest one, he's speaking to a fungus expert who's like the world's leading expert on sort of like not just fungus or fungi, but sort of like psychedelics as well, and actual experiences of. And then the next week he'll be speaking to like Maria Sharapova about her backswing.
That's what I need. I do need that. I
Tim
need that
Ferriss
variation.
Show.
This is the same with like projects. I need that variation. I can't just do one project.
Yeah, that's kind of why I keep him on, because they're also like 2-hour conversations and they go like everywhere.
Yeah.
So he kind of tries to pick out common themes that make people successful, but then also lets them wander into like just quirky bits. It's good.
I mean, that's essentially the formula we have here.
Yeah.
I'll let people talk about whatever they want to talk about.
Psychedelic mushrooms.
Certainly.
Yeah. But no, I guess with my podcast listening, because I'm massively interested in like the writing community and trying to keep in touch with people that I've sort of met or been in touch with who now run podcasts. I kind of listen to a lot of theirs and try and get like the crossover of news and try and keep up to date with like relevant stuff. So mine's a lot more specific. But I can get why you'd want that variety.
I mean, I think this is. I mean, I'm going to give the game away in a way. So next year, the plan for the podcast is changing.
Exclusive.
I know, right? So this is the last guest podcast of the year.
Ooh.
Right. You're the last person for the year, and it was like, right, what am I going to do next year? Because like this year, the end of this year has been such a hassle with work, essentially, and I've had to forego doing a lot of things this year just because of work. And it's been like one of those points of like, right, next year should be all art. Like, I've got my job, but the rest of it should be all art. I should do that thing where I try and die from doing art, essentially. So I'm like, cool, I got the list of what I need to do. It's like, I got the Potato Boy book, which I want to get out. I'll be doing another calendar at some point. I want to get my bonfire project off the ground and burn something, make Banksy look like a pussy. I kind of, I've got like a whole list of things, and I was like, right, so what are we doing with podcast? Because getting a guest on the podcast is the main challenge.
It is hard, yeah.
Getting is like a consistent guest, even though it's like once every 2 weeks or something like that. It's like, so Yellingatconcrete podcast, as it stands, will continue, but guests may not be as consistent. It might be like once a month, have a guest. But I'm going to try and launch a second podcast alongside it, which again will be like once a month, maybe once every 2 months.
Is it Whispering at Grass? Which
is Yelling at Creatives.
Okay.
Because essentially, like what as you're saying, like you need something to research or be interested in, and that kind of thing. And I don't think, from my experience, that there is a concept podcast, like an art, creative, just creative podcast, which basically just explores art. There's
Okay.
like a theme,
Yeah,
essentially. Because everyone you get is like, oh, this is art history.
Yeah.
This is an interview with this artist, and this is art history, and we're going to discuss this, and we're going to
Yeah,
discuss your
it'll be a
process.
niche
and like,
within art.
it'd be, so where's the one which is just like, this is why people create, like this is why people do what they do, and this is how these themes kind of come up and explore this. And like you're saying, like the book we were discussing earlier, about, like, I've read a recent one which is called Touched by Fire, which is basically about artists and how they are predisposed to being bipolar
Okay.
and schizophrenic, and that's why most big artists like Van Gogh and all that had huge mental health problems, but that's what made them good artists. And it's like, I like that. I want to delve down deeper into the rabbit hole of creativeness.
Fair.
And try and bring that to next year.
Yeah.
So
I think it's part of that's just being out of touch with the norm in
Yeah.
order to actually create things that I think it was actually on the Tim Ferriss podcast the other day that one of the guests, I'm going to butcher this completely, was basically saying that there are two types of people. There are those that are predisposed to just going along with the flow, and they're the people, like, I know lots of people from back home who hopefully won't hear this podcast, who are you very, like, they're just happy where they are. They just get on, they just roll with it. They're more focused on inclusion and just being accepted. And then there are those who, for whatever reasons, and this person argued normally they have like a tragic backstory, but for whatever reason there are people that have been through events that have forced them outside of that, and they're at a point where they don't care so much about that and they just want to explore outwardly. Which I've not thought about massively, but I can kind of see the validity in the 2 points.
I mean, like that's something. So as a teenager, and I don't care if my family hear it. So as a teenager, I looked at like my cousins and my aunts and uncles, who, as you suggested, is like people are very happy to go with the flow. They had regular jobs. They did all the things which you do as an adult. You know, get married, buy a house, have kids, married, got themselves into that cycle, and they're happy to do that. You know, work at some supermarket somewhere, have an office job, that kind of thing. And I looked at that as a teenager and was like, I want to do everything I can not to be that. Because I don't understand how someone can be happy or fulfilled doing that. But again, that goes back to me wanting to suffer to be able to succeed. It's like, that's comfortable, that's nice, you know, that's a goal to attain to. A lot of people choose to do it just because they have to, like they have kids or something, they go, well, I need a job because I need money to have kids, and blah, 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 and that's what they want to do. And I'm like, I can't understand that in my head. So I like looked at that and went, no, fuck that. I understand the system, but I don't want to be in that system in a way. But the other side is like, you look at people who've gone through like tough times and been forced out or experienced something which has kind of pushed them out, and I think they can go two ways. Of like, they either go, I want complete safety, or just go, as you say, I'm gonna go wander
I mean, there's no right way either. It's just like, because I'm kind of the same. I was, I guess, forced. My parents moved from basically where I'd lived for 16 years to somewhere else, and then 2 years later I moved to a different city to come to Lincoln. And in that transition, there's very much a case of my home base isn't there anymore. But my brother, after he moved, kind of sprung straight back, and he sees a lot of his friends still. And I wouldn't say he's like directly down that road of worrying about too much about inclusion and stuff, but I see some friends who are like literally still best friends with the people. Like, there's just a cluster of like 5 or 6 people who've been best friends since way back before school, and I just think, I don't know if it's because I've never really had that because of where I've moved around or whatever the factors are, but I've never wanted that. No,
it kind of terrifies me, that.
And like, I don't know, it makes me uncomfortable. Attitude. Like, I think the more you see, the more you hunger for. Yeah, I could see that. And I think particularly now, like I want to see more of England. I know that I'm not going to settle in Lincoln forever, but I think there's that. Once you start kind of going places, you're like, okay, what else is there? And it takes something special to stick you somewhere. I think that's, in a way, like that can be counterproductive in a way, because you can get to very much that point of where you don't want to sell anywhere because you're worried you'll miss something. And I mean, that's the thing. Like now, obviously turning 30, it's like
there's so many people who are desperate to settle by 30, who are like, no, I should have everything. I should have life, family, wife, house, all that. You know, I should be completely settled.
On that myth.
Whereas, like, I'm sat there going, oh, I don't really want to settle till I'm like 60. Because then at that point, I'm like, all right, well, I've resigned from exploring, kind of thing. But then that could be destructive. Because if I met someone or I found something which was going to be permanent and required me to kind of stay put, my brain would be going, no, run away, Graham. Don't take this security.
I don't, like, I feel like, I don't know if it's a symptom of getting older and kind of just my own circumstances as well, but it just, the older I get, the more and more I push away from ever that belief. Because I remember being younger, until I was probably about 14 or 15, I was very much of the whole, I want to get married young, I want to have kids young, I want to live that life. And I don't know if it was a move that shook it from that or what, but it probably was a big chunk of that. But also I think experiences with relationships, and obviously they're not panning out as you planned, because that's just part of life. But like I get so cynical now, I'll see like 14, 15-year-old couples walking around and just be like, that won't last. You're all lovey-dovey now. You think that's forever? It probably won't. Let's be honest. What are the odds? Because we can actually work them out.
I mean, it's thoughts like that which make me feel like an incredibly grumpy old man. Because even now, like, I see people in their 20s, and like obviously I was in a long-term relationship for 5 years. We've known each other 8 years, and then it just ended. And I'm like looking at people in their 20s who are with their significant others. And they've been there.
It might never happen, but it could.
It could, and it's like, I'm kind of sat there and like, at some point, I kind of want to just have that conversation with both of you and be like, you're aware this can happen, right? Because it's like, it's not that I want to stop it and I want to will people on and go, you know, you're great together, go be great together, go out into the world, but just be aware that it can happen. So if it does, you're not completely destroyed by it. Like, have that reality check in your head in a way.
No one teaches that. No,
because we shouldn't. In a way, we should teach people to be positive, right?
You should. The thing is, there is something sweet in it. Like, you do kind of think, if you had the opportunity to blissfully just go ahead in that mentality again and not be aware of,
there is something beautiful about it. Watching it from the outside, you're going,
do you pass that bubble?
Let's let it ride.
It's not your bubble to burst, is it?
Let's let it ride, and when they fall, we'll help them back up.
Yeah, that was really sweet.
That's probably the better way to look at it.
I enjoyed that. But yeah, I think, I mean, I've seen close friend couples who have cheated on each other and got back together. I've seen some that cheated on each other and haven't. I've seen my auntie get married 3 times and my granddad roll his eyes as he's walking her down the aisle for the 3rd time.
Damn.
I promise to love you till death do us part. Oh, again. And it's stuff like that where I'm just like, why are you putting yourself through that? There's an expected fakeness around relationships that I don't like. Like, what I really, really like, and I guess, because I won't discuss my status and stuff at the minute, but broadly speaking, I think what I like seeing most in relationships are those ones where you look at it and they do just do things differently. And they don't give a fuck. And it's like, you see whether, because I know there's a lot of talk at the minute about like polyamorous relationships and different makeups and how people get along. And again, I could speak for hours about that stuff, because that stuff's fascinated me over the last like couple of years. Just like,
it's impossible not to be fascinated by it. It's like it's like all the information's just suddenly there, and you're like, oh shit, I gotta read about this. Like,
I've actually like bought a couple of books just about not directly to influence myself, but just to expand, because it just genuinely interests me. Like, I think I get, as the years go by, I get more and more into like human makeup and the idea of sex and relationships and gender and stuff. And but yeah, I think as time goes by, they're the relationships I kind of respect more. It's the people who can, and this is kind of pulled out of a book that I did read, Mating in Captivity by Esther Perel. It's fantastic. There was a part in that was basically kind of struck a nerve with me, which was like, you see people who've been in relationships since, say, go back to this 14-year-old couple, and they say they've been together for 30 years. If one of them is tired at a Christmas party, is drunk, something happens, you cheat on your partner, 9 times out of 10 in modern society, that's the end of a relationship. That infidelity has cost you that. But if you actually stop, pause, breathe, take out emotions, is that one act of, say it is something that they really regret, is that one act of regret worth breaking off 30 years of trust.
Yeah.
If they stole something from your purse,
Yeah.
that's not severe enough. So why is that act
Different to that
which is a
one.
carnal biological desire? Why
Yeah.
would that? Yeah.
That's interesting.
Mm.
Yeah. I do like, as you say, it's like, in a way, it's like you can look at relationships and the ones which are nice to see are the imperfect ones.
Yeah.
Like,
And they
nobody,
know it.
nobody wants to see the ones which are arguing all the time. Like, it's like, oh, cool, we're going out with these people, or what are they going to do? I don't know, they're just going to bitch at each other for the entire thing. Like, nobody wants that, because that's not a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, it's like the ones where it's like, yeah, someone fucked up at one point in this relationship, and they worked through it because they talked about it. You know, it's like, again, it's like that movie trope of something happens in a film, they get divorced.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no, because the reality is there's more at stake than just a marriage. There's, you know, houses and people and whole backstories which are not being told.
Yeah.
And you got to take that to account.
Yeah.
In a way. But yeah, I think it's in, as with anything like creation or relationships, you got to keep yourself open to it and learning about it and be willing to talk about it.
Yeah, I think you get stale very easily, and particularly it's easy just to find, because when people get together you spend a lot of time learning a lot about each other, and then there comes a point where you just stop and it's like, I know you, I know everything about you, and there's something in, and I'm not professing to be any expert, or it's just generally my opinion, but there's something in being able to separate yourself enough still so that you can still have that mystery about you.
Yeah.
Because the minute you think you know someone, it's the minute
You lose interest.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting point to end on, which is comes round.
Deep.
Hashtag deep. Yeah, it's been wonderful to talk to you again, Dan.
No, pleasure to come back.
And I imagine I'll get you back again next year at some point.
Yeah, whenever.
Definitely. We'll have to get you on the more the arty one.
Yeah, yelling at creatives.
And figure out what's broken about you.
Oh, let's not follow that thread.
I mean, as we've said, we're very different creatively. I think we have a lot of the same capacities in like how we work and our mentality with work, but we create very differently.
Just the outputs, I guess, and what we
I find that
want to
very
achieve.
interesting. Yeah, but no, we'll definitely get you back.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And we'll obviously plug your podcast in the descriptions and whatnot.
Bro.
And Hawk and Cleaver and your new books and all that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
We'll talk to you guys later.